Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's bring on Aubrey.
Hello,
Aubrey,
hello.
floating in space.
Floating in space today, apparently. I just want everyone to know it's a booth.
It's a booth.
It's like a thing. Yeah, but it just looks like I'm a floating head. So we're just going to go with that.
So she's not really in space, for those of you that were wondering.
I know
now
there's
mystery solved.
Debunked. All the magic is gone.
Yeah, and along those same lines, we'll see how today goes because it's first thing in the morning, and I'm not used to recording first thing in the morning.
Yep.
But I'm sure we'll drop right into it once the energy starts flowing.
Yep.
So we're talking about the rise of the divine feminine energy. So, which is really a profound, wonderful, good thing. It's like anything, there's learning curves to it. And I think that's most likely what we're going to get into today, some of the learning curves that are associated with it. But really, I think the most important thing is the actual rise of the divine feminine energy that's happening now. Like that's enormous. It's global. It's huge. It's life-changing. It's earth-changing. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest aspect of the spiritual shift that's happening on the planet right now. And it's, for multiple reasons, because it's so powerful. It manifests in so many different ways. But, foundationally, if we look at human history, women have been held down, which, of course, like everybody has masculine and feminine energy. So like I have masculine and feminine energy. So over the previous generations, the last 100,000 years, my feminine energy has been stifled as a man, just like the female energy has been stifled in women. So now from an external perspective, it's much easier to see in the feminine because there's more feminine energy in females usually. Wow, feminine, female, there must be a connection there. Right?
Sounds very similar.
Yeah. It's almost like they have the same fucking root word or something. So it's, so the oppression and suppression of women and the female energy, has been going on so long, and it has us completely out of balance. It always has. So it's, it's about coming back into balance. Everything's about balance. We're in the world of yin and yang. There's two sides to everything. And it's always about balance between two things. So it's about balance between the masculine and the feminine. And the masculine has been so out of control for so long. And it's, it's caused all the problems that we look around and we see. It's being out of balance causes the problems. And it's not only that there's been too much masculine energy and not enough feminine energy, but it's also toxic masculine energy. Because it's out of balance, there's nothing. So we go one step deeper into. I just said there's two sides to everything. So the masculine has two sides. It has healthy masculine energy and it has toxic masculine energy, and female energy has the same. So it has healthy feminine energy and toxic feminine energy. So and like I said, I think as we talk more, we'll get more into the toxic aspects, because it's not about just pure energy. Yes, we need to raise the divine feminine, and it's raising. I mean, it is like, we don't really have to do anything. Like, it's happening.
Definitely raising. Yep.
Yeah. So it's not like, oh, we're doing it. It's no, nature's doing it. It's happening. Why? Because it has to. That's why. Because we're not going to, this is why I said it's such a big deal. Like, often when I talk about the spiritual shift happening on the planet, to understand why it's happening now, because that, to me, that's a foundational understanding. Like, why now? It could have happened anytime. And there's been signs of it. Jesus coming was a sign of it. Like, there's been signs of it all throughout history. Why now? Like, it's because it has to. That's why. It's because the toxic masculine energy has reached its peak. Which is really, if you look at the biggest problems, it's violence and it's acquisition, acquiring, taking. So, like, those are two big aspects of toxic masculine. It's to take, to acquire, just for the sake of taking. It's not because you need anything. That's the difference between healthy masculine energy and toxic masculine energy. Like, healthy masculine energy is going acquiring food because you need it to feed your family. So that's helpful. It's action based. So you go, and it doesn't imply stealing or anything. It's just, you go do what it takes. You go hunting, you go gathering, whatever. Like, so you take action to acquire what you need. That's healthy. When you start acquiring and taking things that you don't need just to hold them over other people, that's toxic. That's unhealthy. So that's when it swings out of balance. So we've reached the pinnacle of that, really, globally, where everybody that can take took about as much as they could. There's no land left to conquer. Like,
there's nothing left to take.
There's nothing left to take. And we've pretty much, like, fought each other for everything already. And we kind of settled in. And, now really the only reason that there hasn't been a war as global as a scale as, like, maybe World War II or World War I, maybe, is just because, like, we wouldn't survive it. It's not because people had this shot of divine feminine energy and they're kind of coming around. Like, no, we're still stuck in a toxic masculine energy. It's just that they're sitting. It's a big leap from let's go kill millions of people to let's blow ourselves up and all die together. And that's where we are. We're at a point where if we don't control our fighting to some degree, we're just going to blow ourselves. We're all going to die. We're just going to press a button, and you launch one nuke, and then somebody else goes, oh my God, here we go. They got to launch theirs, and then everybody else launches theirs as a response, and everybody's dead. So it's just that's where we are now. We can't run around in this energy like, fighting each other, acquiring. We're trying like hell. I think the United States are involved in maybe 8 conflicts at the moment, or maybe 14. It's, we're involved in wars around the world that we don't even know exist. Like, so
seriously, we don't even know. To the extent of what we even know. I mean, this is just
I literally
fraction.
Googled, like, how many wars the United States, I'm going to do it right now. How many wars are the United States involved in at this moment? Oh, it says only 3. Well, other ones were
only 3.
Were higher.
Only
3. Like, what the hell? But 3,
only
like, I don't
3.
know. I don't know what those 3 are. And the title is like, who is America at war with now? like it's like a Jeopardy question.
Who now? Yeah.
Who is
who's on the next? Who's the runner-up? Who's the runner-up?
Who is Russia, Liberia, and Pakistan?
Oh my God! Yeah, it's always looking for smoke.
Yeah,
Got to be at war with someone.
I'll take who is America at war with for $500, Alex.
That's so funny.
But this is my point. We are way, we've been out of balance for a long time, and it's been going and going and going and going. We're at the end. We're at the peak. Like there's no more. We can't continue in this energy as a species and this way of thinking and behaving and expect to be on this planet much longer. That's why now.
Yeah.
So the divine, and one thing to keep in mind is this divine feminine energy is the strongest energy there is in the universe right now. So this is why setting boundaries in a healthy way works so well. It's because it has to, because setting boundaries in a healthy way is divine feminine energy. Like usually how I explain the difference between the energies is, we're used to toxic masculine. So a lot of times in this conversation, when I'm referring to masculine, use your heads to decipher, but I'm probably talking about toxic masculine because we're so out of balance. That's most of what we see. Just keep in mind that masculine energy isn't always toxic. It's as I said, action is masculine energy. It's not always toxic. I mean, we have to take action. And women take action also. That's their masculine energy within the feminine. But how we take action often can be masculine or feminine or toxic or healthy, so those are the variables. So like the first, when I was really trying to understand this, the visual that I got was like a rock in the river. Just standing, this rock, this hard energy standing up, saying to the water, no, you shall not pass. That's toxic masculine energy. It's trying to enforce its will upon something else. Not only that, but not really even for a good reason. So it's
just
trying
for the heck of it.
Right. Just because it can, or it thinks it can.
There we go. That's the right.
So it's trying to enforce its will. And then the water is representative of the divine feminine energy. It just goes around, goes over.
Flows.
It doesn't argue. Yeah. It doesn't say, why are you in the river? This isn't your river. You shouldn't try to block the water. Screw you. You're a jerk. I'm not playing. Like it doesn't argue.
Yeah.
Arguing is toxic masculine. It doesn't get into a fight over it. It just goes around it. It just goes over it, just finds a different way and just continues going where it was meant to go in the first place. It's not impeded by this rock, but it doesn't get into an argument over it either. It just continues on its way, and it doesn't hand its power over. It doesn't stop and go, geez, rock, I wish you wouldn't stop me. I should have the right to flow easily. And you're impeding the flow and the direction, and I'm upset, and that's not nice. No, that's handing your power over away. That's like saying to the rock, like, you actually can control me. Please don't do that. This is what we have to get out of, as this is how we're leaning into, globally and as people, male or female. This is how we are going to transcend to the next level. It's being a sovereign being and not handing your power away to people who don't have control over you. It's like our government says, oh, you have to do this. And everybody goes, oh, darn it. Okay. That's the way things are. No, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do what your government says. They're not going to go knock on your door with a freaking machine gun and kill your family. Right. It's not going, well, most countries. I mean, I'm sure,
The United States.
Yeah. The more developed countries, that's not going to happen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I know that they do that in some countries, so be careful. but but I mean, in the developed countries, they're not going to be doing that. Like, nobody's going to shoot you because you didn't wear a mask. Your family's life is not in danger for speaking your opinion for the most part, so like, we got to stop handing our power away and stand in our sovereignty and just live our lives the way that we're supposed to be living. That's an exercise of divine feminine energy, that we all have to do that. So, I'm actually really happy the way that this this conversation went, because honestly, my true feelings is that the rise of the divine feminine energy in this world is one of the most beautiful, magical, wonderful things that could ever happen, and we're experiencing it. And there's a certain aspect of gratitude I have for women just because they have more divine feminine energy than the men. I'm just like, thank you, because they're a part of ushering this in, and it's so much easier and more natural for them to embody it than men. So it's just, I'm very grateful for what's happening. And like I said, there's a learning curve, so I'm probably going to be touching on that. But I don't want that to be the main focus. I want the main focus to be about how beautiful and wonderful this is, because that's really that's 90% of it is how beautiful and magical it is, and what it's going to do for us as a society, as a people, as a species, really. It's and the women are, look at the rate of women awakening spiritually as opposed to men. I mean, it's not even
it's not comparable. Yeah. And that's it. And you think that that's really just because of the how women channel more of that divine feminine energy than men? That's the reason why they're more receptive for the time being.
I think, and I think it's kind of, honestly, I don't know exactly what it is. I might, it might come out as we're speaking, but I think it's a combination of things. I think it's, yes, the rise of the divine feminine. Of course, if there's a rise of divine feminine energy in the world, of course, the people who have more divine energy in them naturally are going to feel it more and embody it more, just because they have more feminine energy than somebody else. So naturally, that makes sense. Also, it's a physical manifestation of the oppression that's been done to women for all these years. We can't live like that and expect to be happy. You can't hold down 50% of your population and oppress them and expect to have any type of quality existence on the planet. I mean, it's ridiculous. So I think that's part of it. Also, it's women are more connected emotionally, and the phrasing of this has variations, so I'm not sure if the phrasing is perfect, but women are more connected through their emotions, which is heart-centered, which is spiritual centered. I think their journey is a little bit of a shorter distance, whereas men are more logic based, which a lot of times you have to, and our emotions have been squashed. We've been taught to not have emotions and not feel emotions and not show emotions. So we have to overcome the generational conditioning, that we've been taught. And we have to let go of, I think this is the biggest part, we have to let go of what's worked for us. And that's the hardest. It's easier to let go of something that doesn't work for you. It's hard to let go of something that does work for you. This is why, like in recovery, I heard, I never met anybody too dumb to get sober, but I have met people that are too intelligent to get sober.
I think, and you've mentioned it, in many of your podcasts and everything, how it's just like we do what works till it doesn't work anymore. And if you never hit that where it's not working and it's still working for you, going to change it?
Right. And I mean, that's part of our shift is we're going to start changing out of consciousness instead of out of suffering. Like up until this point, we've just changed out of suffering. Like when we suffer enough, we finally are able to open up enough to change our minds and our hearts. But that we're getting out of that. And what's weird is I just had a dream about this morning. I was just like, I was just laying there, and then all of a sudden this thought came in about how cool it is that the change is actually coming through consciousness now rather than suffering more. So it's starting, but like, you know, and what I mean by that, like I'll stick with the recovery example. Like if there are people who are highly intelligent and like, let's say they've used their intelligence to succeed in business and they're making millions of dollars and have the house and the cars and all this stuff, from an external perspective, it looks like it's working. Now they're miserable, they're an alcoholic or a drug addict or something like that, and they're suffering immensely inside and they're trying to change, but they have to let go of thinking that they know everything and open up to a different way of thinking. And that's hard when society and everybody around you, you're treated differently. You're treated differently when you have money, even by people who don't think they're treating you differently. More people want to be your friend. More of the opposite sex wants to be around you. And you know that on an unconscious or subconscious level. So it's hard to let go of something that's working, even if it's causing you suffering. It's hard to let go of that because it is working on some sort of level. So it's, you know, that's what I mean. So like men, it's like we have to let go of the logic aspect and get in touch with our emotions. So one, we have to let go of what's been working for us or seemingly working for us, at least on some level. Even if it's killing us on another level, it's working on some level. The whole world is run by toxic masculine energy. So it looks like it works globally. It looks like it works. It doesn't, because the world's falling apart. But it's the only thing we've been exposed to that's been effective on some level, even if it's dysfunctionally effective on some level where people get what they want. It's always been through toxic masculine energy. We have no other examples. So how are we going to let go of that and then open up to our emotions, which is part two, what we've been taught not to do? Depend on this and don't go there.
Right.
And that's what men have to do. We have to let go of what we're depending on and then go where we're told and taught not to go. And then we can catch up with the women. So yeah, there's, you know, but it doesn't mean we can't do it. It's just, you know, the answer is just surrender. And like I said, we're at this point in history where we can consciously choose to open. We can actually use this. See, this is how men are going to start doing better. And of course, certain aspects of it's going to help everybody, women, you know, everybody. But we're starting to get to the point. This is why living consciously is so helpful, because like we're not drunk by the information that's been passed down through history. This is what works. This is not what works. Now we're opening up to truth. So we can use our logical mind to look at it and just go, okay, so can you fight for peace? Well, no, that's never worked. If you fight, you end up getting more fighting, because you can't take aggression, throw it into a wall and have it turn into love. It's different energies. So, okay, I logically understand now. Okay, well, can love transcend problems? Well, yes, you know, Gandhi, MLK Jr., MLK Jr., what do you say? Anger can't overcome fear or something like that. Can't push out fear or anger can't push out anger. Only love can do that. He said something along those lines. So it's like, we have these examples of it actually working in societal change. So logically, we can understand that and go, oh, okay, there is another way. People are still resisting that and not really looking at it yet, but it's going to be coming. It's coming more and more into our consciousness, so we can actually use our intellect to choose consciously what makes sense. Not just, depend on our intuition or something, because that's kind of a far leap. But this is what the universe does, is it gives us breadcrumbs when we need it. It's like, okay, yeah, you guys can still use it. You can use your law. I know it's going to be too hard for you to completely abandon all your logic. So we'll give you some truth, some eternal truth. Then you can use the eternal truth to logically understand why you have to open up your heart. Oh, okay. So it speeds up the process and it helps us.
Yeah.
I forgot where I was going when I started that rant.
So, so how can we begin to make that shift? Because right now there's just this like crazy imbalance of, that toxic masculinity. And I know you're saying that like the divine feminine energy is coming through with women, but how do we get there with men?
We all have the same thing.
We're just the toxic masculine energy, maybe not men, but the toxic, because you see that coming up. To be honest, from my opinion, I see that coming up in women as well. It comes out in like extreme feminism, if that makes sense. It's like the opposite end of the spectrum, and I don't know if that's toxic masculine energy causing it, or if it's just feminism to the extreme. Anything, too much of anything creates that imbalance.
And I think that is part of our learning curve, is because we've seen, believe it or not, like a lot of people don't see this, but it's inherent in our society that like basically when we get pissed off enough, we become what we hate.
Right.
And this is just another example of that. We do it all the time in all kinds of areas, like and we do it righteously. It's, the Democrats will be like, oh, you stole the election, and the Republicans are like, what are you talking about? We didn't steal an election, you whiny little, just shut up. And then, I can't believe, why don't you just accept it? And then all of a sudden the Democrats win and the Republicans go, you stole the election. And the Democrats like, you whiny little, why don't you just shut up? It just goes back and forth like a tennis match,
like child play.
Yeah, it's just children. So, and if anybody says, hey, they were doing that to you, why are you doing that? And people stand up righteously and go, yeah, you're damn right I'm doing it, because they did it to me, so I'm going to do it. Like, okay,
it's whatever fits the narrative, whatever.
Yeah, so you become what you hate, And this is the biggest problem with setting boundaries. And like, when we set boundaries, learning how, I teach my clients this all the time because I see it all the time. When I teach boundaries, part of what I teach is to not go overboard with your boundaries, because it's empowering. When you lean into the divine feminine, it's empowering, and it's it's literally intoxicating, because you start finding out how much power you have, and it's the most powerful energy on the planet. So it's like when you lean into that, all of a sudden it becomes intoxicating, and people start running around going like this is what happened when people are still doing it, but the people are going, no is a complete sentence. No, it's not. Only if you're an asshole. If you're an asshole, no is a complete sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? We can't explain anything to one another. We can't just talk. Like, you don't walk around and say, hey, would you like to go out, in a healthy relationship? Hey, would you like to go out for a walk in nature? No. Why not? I don't owe you an explanation.
Oh yeah, it makes no sense. Yeah, there's nothing.
That's toxic.
It's not an acceptable. Yeah.
No,
yeah, I owe you nothing else. No is an answer. No is an acceptable response.
No, and I mean, like when I think it's part of fitting in society and getting along with my fellow human beings to share my thoughts about why I'm making a decision. So when you explain why you made a decision, it is not to try to get the other person to agree to it. This is one of the biggest misconceptions. Like, that's not a boundary, or that's not standing in your power. When you go, that somebody goes, you want to go for a walk? You go, no. And they go, why? And you go, well, because I went for 3 walks and I got a blister on my toe and I don't really feel like it. And then they go, oh, come on, it's okay, you should go anyway. And they go, oh, okay. That's you just not standing your ground. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't explain yourself. It means you should stand your ground better.
Right.
So it's we don't have to get rid. The explanation is just an offering to the other person, out of convenience and courtesy, to say, this is why. Here's a little glimpse inside of my head, so you might understand the way that I'm thinking. It's not mandatory that you understand the way that I'm thinking. If you disagree with the way I'm thinking, I don't really care. I'm still going to do what I want to do. I'm just offering this to you. And if you choose to pick up on it, cool. If you choose to push it aside, that's cool too. I don't really care. That's divine feminine energy. So so when people are setting boundaries and pushing around and you see it. I mean, I've been seeing it for decades in the business industry. It's, women are rising up in the business world. And one of the biggest complaints you hear is women saying that, like, oh, if a man says, no, we're doing it this way, screw you, they're powerful. If a woman says it, they're a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And there's truth to that. But it's not as simple as it is. Like, we're not trying to get to, like, a man acting like a jerk, being perceived as powerful. That's what we're getting away from. That's what we're trying to leave. We're trying to get away from that mentality that being a jerk is powerful and it makes you important. So when women come in and try to do the same thing, women come in and just act in a toxic masculine way. And then they wonder why people look at them as a bitch. It's because it looks weirder. It looks weirder for a feminine energy and really from an energetic standpoint, to me, since I'm open to the divine feminine energy rising, to me, it's like, it's almost sad in a way, because it's like you are in possession of the strongest, most powerful energy there is in the world that's rising right now, and you're choosing not to use it. Yeah. It would work so much better if you would just lean into your divine feminine, but you're not. You're saying, no, I'm going to be toxic masculine, and you're going to respect me just like you respected the other toxic masculine for the last 100,000 years. It's like, no, that's authentic. What we get away from.
Yeah. And I think that's why it comes off too in such a strange way, because it's not authentic to the divine feminine energy. It's like, it's like pretending to be something else. And I feel like, women feel that they need to overcompensate, to overcome, like, being seen as too feminine, and wanting to assert the dominance. So it's like, oh, I got to go like 10 times harder. I got to be like cold bitch. Like, you're going to find out, exact. Like, I think that that's a big thing, because it does come off inauthentic too. It's like, this is weird. Like, why,
it just not seems natural. Off. Yeah. Which it should, because, like, and like hopefully, hopefully it's going to, the more we feed the divine feminine, the more it's going to look weird when a male does toxic masculine too, because toxic masculine is not supposed to look normal. The fact that it looks normal and it looks like the right way to do things That's the problem. Toxic masculinity isn't normal. It's not the right way to do things for anyone, men or women. It's just that we've been indoctrinated and exposed to it for 100,000 years or more. So like it looks a little bit more common in men, but nobody likes it. That like,
right.
Like if you take the world, like, and if you put a group of women and you say that, is the way the world has been run, is this what we would like to do in our future? Everybody be like, no.
Yeah.
It oppresses certain people that, and that so happens to be us at this particular moment, the women. But it doesn't matter who it's oppressing. The fact that it's oppressing people means it's wrong. So it's oppressing the feminine gender, and it has for millennial. and so now we're going to try to embody that, the very thing that we don't like. That's not the way to go. It's be the river. I think I was kind of thinking for a second, like, who embodied this well? And I think that one of them was Maya Angelou came to mind. Like Maya Angelou, to me, like she had a hard edge that almost felt masculine at times. But as a general rule, I don't think her energy was. I think she stood in her power well, and she didn't let anybody stop her. It was just like she was just herself and just did things and moved forward with whatever she wanted to do. And she wasn't handing her power away. She was in sole possession of her power. She didn't feel less than. If somebody like had the audacity to insult her or put her down, it was like, no. I remember hearing one story of her throwing people out of a party because they were saying, I believe they were saying the N-word. And that was just something that she didn't allow in her presence. She didn't agree that was okay for anybody to say because it was derogatory. Yeah. So I believe she was having a big party at her house and somebody was saying it. I don't know if they were telling a joke. I forgot the story, but she threw people out of her party because she's just like that word isn't spoken in my presence. And it wasn't a masculine, like a masculine energy addresses that situation in a toxic masculine way where it's aggressive and it's yelling and it's saying, you're wrong. You can't do that. You have to get out. Screw you. Maybe physical act, all that stuff. Whereas divine feminine just goes, no, that's just not allowed in my presence.
Yeah. It's
holding
a boundary.
Yeah.
It's upholding a boundary, right? Yeah.
Right. It's just standing in your power and just going, no, it's just not going to happen in my presence. So you can leave. Yeah, but no, I'm not going to argue about it. It's just not happening in my presence. You may go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I'm just not going to allow that energy. It's yeah. I wonder what the difference in that is though. Is it ego? Like what is it? What's the difference between a charged response, just upholding a boundary, and then the aggressiveness that comes with physically removing someone from your house? Is it ego, or is toxic masculine energy more ego-based? Is I think what my question is. Is that the difference?
Yes, because it's toxic. Everything toxic, it leans in the direction of the ego, because if we weren't wrapped up in the ego, we wouldn't be behaving in a toxic way. Right. Toxic masculine or toxic feminine, we would be in balance if we're in presence.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of the two situations and, having the toxic masculine energy, like going in and like physically like removing someone and doing all that. Like it has a lot to do with the way that you're seen and asserting your dominance and like, everyone's going to see what happens. And I could just see it versus the divine feminine. That's just like, I'm just going to uphold my boundary and that's it. Like it's just about I don't want that energy around. It's just a lot less charged.
It's less charged, but it's way more powerful. Like I mean, do you do you know how many parties I've been thrown out of or thrown people out of? I mean,
I can only imagine.
Countless, right?
Depends on the time period of your life. I'm not.
Yeah.
We gotta get specific.
Yeah. In the earlier years, it was constant. And I used to throw the police out of my apartment all the time. And I would do it in the most aggressive manner possible. I didn't want to just throw them out. I wanted to embarrass them and to tuck their tail between their legs on the way down the stairs. So like, and I did it, man. And I literally had police diving up the stairs while their partner held them back, trying to choke me. Because I was so bad at that.
You're like, we got to take this to the extreme. I need you humiliated.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah. I was just
public humiliation is probably that's the furthest extent you could go.
Yeah.
You know, with toxic
and that's what I would shoot for every time the police showed up in my house. Like I was going to teach them a lesson or something, you know?
Right. Like I want you to cry. I want you to hate yourself. I want you to be embarrassed. It's the worst of the worst. Yeah.
But that, that's obviously ego driven, but the and you see it all over the place. Like, and when you see to me, the fact that you don't see it all over the place is proof that it's more powerful. Like if you see toxic masculinity all over the place and you see it happen all the time, it doesn't really stick in your mind because it's like, well, that's just how things occur. That's kind of the norm, is the toxic masculinity, and we're used to it and we're used to seeing it. And we live in a dysfunctional society. So anything that is normal in society right now, as a general rule, is wrong. If you catch yourself doing something that society agrees with, immediately stop and rethink what you're doing, because you're probably doing something ego-based, toxic masculine-based, or just generally wrong.
Yeah.
Because that's what society is right now. It's off. So, but like I hear one story about some woman I never met standing in divine feminine energy, and I remember it years later in a podcast. That's how powerful it is. That's how it stands out and says, look, this is important. This is impactful, So when we stand in that, when we just stand in our power, it's and not argue back and forth.
Yeah.
It's, it's the most powerful thing that we can do.
Right.
And it changes everything.
It's a great topic.
It is.
Great topic.
So we just have to be careful, with the it's the pendulum. It takes energy to live. So it's like when we're in a toxic masculine, it takes energy to live in a toxic masculine. So the pendulum is way over on the right. And what happens when we start releasing that energy is it swings. And the pendulum usually swings over to the other side, which is what we're seeing at times now. I mean, granted, I want to be fair. I think that a lot of the divine feminine energy rising and people leaning into it and all that stuff, I would say that is the majority of what's going on. But we do, since there is a learning curve in absolutely anything, there is that swing over to the other side where there's going to be some toxic feminine energy, too far in that direction. And like toxic energy basically is toxic energy. Like, whereas, I mean, I guess I got to say this to make a point. There are different aspects of this. Like if you wanted to create a list of toxic feminine and toxic masculine and divine feminine and divine masculine, you can do that. And there are differences, but as a general rule, there's for this conversation, there's like, we're trying to understand the difference between masculine and feminine. When you're trying to be in a balance, you don't have to sit there and go, is this toxic masculine or is this toxic feminine?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If it's toxic, it's toxic. Right? So just don't do anything unhealthy, no matter what energy it's in. That's all.
Pretty simple. Pretty simple. Yeah.
So that's why I'm not going into creating 4 different lists. 2 lists is enough, because it gives us an inkling of what to lean into and what to starve more of.
Yeah.
Or just an awareness of the 2 energies. So, when you let go of that pendulum and it swings over here, like it's over here, like when you're 50% of the way, well, this is more, well, I guess you can't be up here. I don't know. But like, if you're way over on the right, that's toxic masculine. That's where we're coming from. When it swings over, it's not going to go way up to the left. Most likely. Like, we're not going to get into a world that's completely female dominated and men are put down as much as women were put down. Like, we're not going to go that far out of balance, most likely. Unless we wouldn't, because that wouldn't be a positive shift. So therefore we'd never make it. We're moving positively. So
I can't see that.
But it could get out of balance. It could get out of balance where masculine energy is, pushed down and shamed and stuff like that. And it'll probably go that way to some degree, which is okay. It's natural. It's part of it. Right. I'm a man. I'm not fearful of that. It's like, whatever. But we have to be careful, especially the feminine, not to hang on to resentment and anger and try to make that worse. Because a lot of women, if you take the perspective, oh, well, we've been oppressed for 100,000 years. It's a good idea for men to get a little taste of that. Right? That's generally the common response most people are going to have. And that is what we were talking about earlier. That's becoming what you hate. You don't like that men oppressed you, so now you want to be the oppressor and oppress other people. The less we do that, the more we're going to find balance. The healthier we're going to be, the less we do that. And it's not, like I said,
I see that being challenging too. It's challenging to not take on the energy that's impacted you in a negative way. It's so funny you said that. I was doing research on just like mental and just like mental abuse type of thing. Like I was reading an article, and something in the article said the real flex is not becoming like your abuser.
Yeah.
Because people tend to take on that energy, and I can see it in what you're talking about right now. It all relates.
Exactly. And it's like, I think it was Time of the Sixth Sun movies that I was watching, the series. I think that's what it was. And I saw, and I've heard this multiple places, that a lot of the ancient civilizations that have been holding all the spiritual information all these generations and really not speaking it up, one of those groups being the Native Americans, that they've always had a prophecy that this time in human history was coming, and to pass the spiritual information about how to live in community with one another, love, knowledge of the earth, all this stuff. They've been holding on to that knowledge generation to generation to the best of their ability because of this time in human history, that it's
right.
This has always been coming. And one of their big and they literally said this, this isn't my perspective. They were saying that one of their big things that they need to do and they've needed to work on is to let go of the resentment for what humanity has done to their civilizations. They have to let go of that anger. They have to let go of that resentment. They have to let go of the instinct to try to get back, do to them what was done to us. They have to let go of that because they are placeholders. They are information holders, and they have the information that's going to save the world. We have to get back into community and nature and all this stuff. And they are the holders of that information. And their job is to let go of the anger, not to become it, and then share the knowledge with those who oppress them, so we can be one global, peaceful, loving community. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. That's, that's what we're talking about here, is letting go, not becoming what you hate, and just being better, being the best version of you, embracing your natural power, not to put other people down, but to live your best life. Living well is the best revenge. You don't have to hurt somebody. Like, I had to get this on a deep level. Sometimes it looks in society, because society is so out of whack, that the people who abuse others are winning. That's what it looks like. And it's not true, because their soul is hurting. And that's, this is where we're going in a society. We're going to function more on a soul level. So the physical experience is going to start reflecting the soul level instead of this toxic energy. So like, if you, we have to be more loving if we're going to live a loving life. If we want to be at peace inside with ourselves, we can't be putting down others. We can't be punishing people for what they did. There is no time machine. I understand that this is coming from a white male. So like, I'm the symbol of oppressor for freaking everybody on the planet. I get this. I didn't do it. Do I think it's excusable? No, I think it's freaking horrible. And if I had my way, it wouldn't have happened. But like, putting me down and other people, and I'm not doing this because I'm scared of people putting me down. Like, they can't. I'm sovereign. So you can try all you want. You want to attack me and try putting me down because you think I'm the symbol of all the suffering that's transpired? Go for it. Good luck. But so I'm not doing it out of self-preservation. I'm just doing it out of factual energy. Putting me down and other people down is never the solution. Becoming what you hate isn't the solution. It's not going to make you feel better. All it's going to do is fill you with anger and hatred. That's all it did to us. We white men are looked at like, oh, we're the winners. No, we're the losers. We get to walk around with the greatest level of self-hatred because of the crap that we did. Like, you can't escape. You can't walk around like having trillions of dollars and crapping all over people and go like, oh, I mean, maybe on an egoic, illusionary BS level that you're completely out of touch and you basically didn't learn a damn thing in this lifetime, and you're going to come back and have to live another 30 lifetimes to learn what you were supposed to learn, because you're so close-minded that you can't even, you completely skip the whole lifetime. And everybody looks at that and they're like, he's the winner. We should be like him. No, he's not the winner. He's empty. He's completely disconnected from love, his soul. He thinks that he has to use people to feel better about himself. That's a disgusting, wasted existence. It's horrible. I fear that more than anything. I fear being disconnected with myself and with spirit and living an empty life void of purpose and love more than being broke. I'd rather be broke, peaceful, and happy than some oppressive, rich nut job. So,
wow.
You know,
that was just a banger. That was a great statement. I want to quote that.
Yeah, so just be,
great.
Look below the surface as what you're becoming. Like what? Yeah, they're not the winners. They're completely disconnected from who they are. I mean, if you think hurting other people is righteous, like you're going to be coming back for several lifetimes to unlearn that, because it's just ain't right. So yeah, there is no escape from poor behavior. We are accountable for our actions in an eternal way always. So, it's kind of like a karma mentality.
Yeah.
So I guess, well, we're running out of time. We might have to do another one on this. Who knows?
I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot to discuss on this topic. So
yeah, and I kind of want to touch, like in my book in chapter 34, I've got feminine and masculine energies. So I'll read through at least some of them, maybe all of them. I don't know. Just to give you guys an idea. So masculine, I'll say the masculine versus the feminine. So you can see the two and how they compare. So doing is masculine, being is feminine. Aggression versus surrender, analytical versus intuitive, concrete versus abstract, impatient versus patient, movement versus stillness, striving versus tranquil, rushing versus nurturing, assertive versus receptive, left brain versus right brain, trusting versus receiving. Oh, I'm sorry, thrusting forward versus receiving, organization versus synthesizing, logical versus creative, busy versus calm, hard versus soft, controlling versus allowing, individuality versus unity, expression versus silence, constructive versus instructive, strength versus endurance, knowledge versus mystery. So, like, if you look at both sides and you have both of those, it's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's, if you look at individuality versus unity, the combination of those is what we're looking for, a balance between the two. Striving versus tranquil. Of course, we need to strive towards things sometimes, but we should be tranquil as well. So it's the balance between these two energies that we're seeking, and right now what we need to do is, we're way out of balance. So do you think we're in society, we're too busy or we're too calm?
I mean,
I think we can get that one. So we need to feed the calm because we're out of balance in the busy.
Yeah, the distractions are at an all-time high.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to come into balance between the two in a healthy way. And that's where we're going. And that's, you live in a life, in a world that has strength and endurance, knowledge and mystery, in balance. That's a beautiful world,
Yeah. Just harmony.
So we got to wrap it up. We ate up all the minutes. Maybe we'll do another one. I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And I'm going to end this quick before we run out of time. Thank you, Aubrey.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.
Looking for more? Check out over 200 episodes of Life Lessons and Laughter, or click the link in the description of this episode to connect with Glenn directly.